Michael Lutz, who is the CEO and founder of Invest, that's Vest in all capital letters, USA. Michael, welcome to the program. Want to get into what your organization does and how important, but you have an intelligence background. You have thoughts. You heard some of my commentary on COVID. Have at it.
Well, Tom, it's always a privilege to be with you. We thank you for that opportunity. But let me let your listeners know real quickly what you had just said. This didn't just happen because somebody had a jalapeno pizza the night before. This has been orchestrated and planned for decades. And the reason is because America is a thorn in the side to the rest of the globe. We are free, and we are the only country that has that proposal, that has that ideology and that constitution, and the leftist liberals can't stand it. And in order to be able to get one world order, one global system, they have to eradicate and eliminate us. Well, it's very hard to do, quite frankly, when you're an armed nation. It's interesting, after World War II, they did a sit-down session with the admirals that were left, the admirals and the generals of the Japanese Empire, with a very simple question. You caught us off guard at Pearl Harbor. Why didn't you just continue to advance and move into the West Coast? Shoot, it had probably taken us till you got to the Mississippi River before we were able to stop. And it was interesting, their response. The admirals and the generals looked and said, "Are you crazy? America has the largest military in the world." And we replied with, "What do you mean? All your citizens are armed. Whether they wear a uniform or not is irrelevant. They're armed. We would not be crazy enough to have attempted to do that. This is the key. America is safe. America is the land of liberty because of the fact that we have the freedom to bear arms." Now, how do they get rid of that? Well, they've tried for decades. We'll go to Congress and we'll see if we can't pass something, gun restrictions, gun control, etc. Never seems to work for them. But they did find something that they're capitalizing on, Tom, and that is COVID. They found out at COVID that, boy, Americans will respond if they're fearful. "Oh, there's something going to happen to my health. Tell me what to do. I'll do it tomorrow." And they're capitalizing on that now. And so they've gone from COVID to now they're trying to create a society that becomes so violent that you become so fearful even to go out your door that you will plead for government to intervene. Hey, what is government going to say? Oh, they've already got their cliche, "Never fear, your federal government is here." And that's exactly what they're going to do. They have already, this is not my ideology or me thinking about what I think they're going to do. They've already publicly stated it, Tom. Excuse me. Their purpose is this. They have publicly stated that violence is caused by guns. Not the person pulling the trigger of the gun, but by the gun. Unfortunately, Tom, I've never met one of those guns that shoots itself, but I'm sure that they're out there. I'm just waiting to encounter one day. So here's what they will say. "You're scared, Tom? You're scared of the violence? We've got it solved. Guns cause that problem. We're going door to door. We're going to confiscate them all. No more violence in this country." Of course, we know the fallacy of that statement, but that's what they'll do. Now, once they possess the guns, how do you plan on fighting back if you decide you don't like what they're telling you to do? You have no choice. That's it. It's over. They win. America is destroyed, and we now become one world order. So that is why I make this introduction to talk about what's going on in the country. Why is there this defund the police? Why is there all these movements? It all centers around that issue that we just talked about. So what did they do? They created scenarios to divide us. Black Lives Matter. And then when they went from Black Lives Matter, let's defund the police. After all, if police are so rabid, bad, bullies trying to destroy, yank your little children off the street and send them to God knows where, if that's the way they are, then why in the world do we want to fund them? And if we're going to have to continue to fund them, then let's at least not give them any new equipment. That's where Invest comes in, this charity. So why are we doing all that? We want to discourage law enforcement. We don't want anybody to feel like they want to become a cop. That's being very successful, Tom. If you talk to any sheriff, any police chief across the country today and say, "Hey," because I do this all thousands.
Well, wait, real quick. Let's expand on exactly what investusa.org does. Please tell people, I think we have a picture of your mission statement, but go ahead and tell us exactly what it does and why you founded it.
Very simple. We started this 33 years ago. We've been doing this for a long time. And the sole purpose is to provide protection to those who protect us. Why would people need that? Well, let me tell you, 33 years ago, 52% of cops had no vests at all. And they were just going out there and they would read Andy Griffith. Now, hey, Andy Griffith's a great show. I loved it. But it was very unrealistic in today's society. So 52% of cops had no vest. We decided that we were going to do something about that. I've been in law enforcement for 33 years myself. And so we decided we would create a public charity. Now, this at the time was just for my area, for Columbia, South Carolina. They had no vests at all. We said, okay. I was in public office, had just gotten to council. Easy problem. We're going to solve it immediately. I will get $500,000 put into the budget, and we're going to move forward and bring us into the next century. Well, unfortunately, I had to be out of town on third reading. Everybody knows that especially in ordinances, it requires three readings. And my colleagues decided, nah, I think we'll take it out. And so when I get back, I have all these reporters asking me, what do you think about your colleagues taking out the $500,000 for bulletproof vests for law enforcement? I did something. I was a young kid at that time, Tom. We speak without thinking. I said, well, fine. If they feel that way about it, we'll just raise the money ourselves. Boy, that was the headline the next day. All over the state, I couldn't get out of it. And so we raised the money, the $500,000 necessary to provide officers with vests. I did make here an interesting story. We had a couple dollars and a couple vests left over. I got a call from the police chief, who was a friend of mine in the town, the next town over, a one-stop light town, okay? He said, I got 2 officers. Can you help me? I said, you're in luck. I got 2 vests left. No publicity, okay? We're done with this. I appreciate it, but I'm not doing it anymore. I'll come to your next city council meeting and make the presentation. Little did I know, this officer and his partner had been shot by an escaped convict. The partner was killed. This officer had been hit 5 times. They were amazed that he lived. His niece happened to work for the Associated Press. And so he tells his niece, I wish I'd have had one of these things when I got shot. Well, they decided that was the story. So when I get to City Hall, there are more press trucks from all over the Southeast there to cover this story than there are population in the city. So I get calls for 3 weeks after that. Can you please don't shut it down today? Do one more. Help us. Then you can shut it down or help the next person. And Tom, quite frankly, we've not been able to find an exit strategy ever since. That's been 33 years, and I don't see an exit strategy on the horizon in the near future.
Okay, so wasn't I in Columbia? Wasn't years ago, I want to say 2008, wasn't there a Republican presidential debate in
Yes,
Columbia?
I
All
was
right,
there.
I was there. You didn't even say hi? I can't believe this.
Well, Tom, it was a little big crowd, and they probably were all interested in you, and I couldn't work my way through. You were the big celebrity, not me. So,
Okay, I'm not buying it, and you shouldn't be selling it. All right, I'm interested in the rationale of your council mates who didn't think it was important. Is that back then? Was it just ignorance, or
well,
was
it's
that
not
the
even
start
back
of the
then, Tom.
mentality?
It's not even back then. It's now. With me having served on council, I can tell you exactly what my colleagues think. So I'm like, okay, I got $100 coming in. Now, how can I best spend that $100 to get as many votes as I can for the next election? I'm not caring about what's the best thing, what's the right thing to do. I want to get reelected. So I'm going to take $10 and give it to 10 different organizations. Oh, but the police department needs $30 to be able to buy the equipment they need. That's tough. I'm going to spread it out so that I can get as many people happy with me to election time. Now, what do you do when the police chief says, well, I needed the 30, now I can't have equipment? Hey, we'll get it you on the next round. Who cares about it? Ain't nobody even violent around here. You'll be just fine. Just make sure your guys are extra careful, extra cautious, and we'll try to get you on the next time. Tom, the next time never comes. And then what happens is then they get to this position list. Now I've got the $30 to give them to buy the equipment. Oh, but would it look better if we hired another cop instead? But you can't outfitting. You've only got $30. Either outfit people you got or buy another cop. It look better if I have another cop out on the street. That would look like I'm doing more. Let me go ahead and put another cop out on the street. You see how their safety always gets pushed back that it won't happen to us. We'll be fine. Now that's changed. I think people realize now that big time crime has come to small town America. There are drug deals that happen in one stoplight towns now. And when there are drug deals like that, they're armed and they're dangerous. And so they're trying to figure out what to do. Well, that was the next phase of what Invest has done. When we started, I told you 52% of cops had no vests. We got that down to about 18%, Tom.
Wow.
And about 10 years ago, roughly, the dynamics changed. Now, let me tell you what about that. The first part, when we were getting vests, were the only thing available in the market. They're called concealable vests. You've seen them. They wear them under their shirt. They're made out of 27 to 32 layers of Kevlar. But they're only designed to stop a pistol. You hit it with a long-range rifle, you might as well not be wearing a vest. It cuts right through it like it's butter. And so, but back then, 30 years ago, Tom, people weren't proud to be criminals, okay? That's why they took the little handgun, shoved it in there underneath their shirt, and went into the convenience store and robbed the gas station. Now, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with cartels. We're dealing with terrorists. We're dealing with human sex traffickers. Billions of dollars that are made in crime across the country. And they're very proud of it. You say, why are they very proud of it? They want you to fear them so that you don't get in the way of their making billions. So how do they make you fear them? They don't pull out a little pistol and say, oh, it's a PB gun, I think. No, they pull out an AK-47 and they make sure that there's nothing left when they leave the scene. So they did dynamics change. We had to stop and create new technology. They're called active shooter vests. They have a titanium steel-based plates in them. They'll stop anything on the market. Pistol, rifle, doesn't make any difference. The problem with this, Tom, is it was developed about 10 years ago, And we currently only have 10% of law enforcement who possess them. That's translated, that's 90% of cops on the street do not have this new technology. Now, next time you're watching TV, you're talking about the news, which I don't advise doing. But if you are watching the news, you'll see constantly active shooter reported in the mall, active shooter reported in a school at this state, in this country, or in this area. It's happening all across the United States. Realize now that when those calls go out, the officers responding are sitting here in the back of their mind thinking, I sure hope he takes his life where I get there, because if he doesn't, we're at a distinct disadvantage. They should never have to be put in that position. They're willing to sacrifice their lives to begin with to keep you and I free and safe. The least we can do is to give them the fighting tools to make sure they have a chance to come home to their families.
So, picking up on this change in psychology, I think you'll agree with me. It isn't the cartels and all of that is unbelievably threatening, but there's also a different change in the mentality of the left. Socialism in history is associated with violence. They use violence to get their way. I was struck by the Washington congressman who spoke the other day. He says he can't even hold town halls. This is a Democrat, because the moment he brings up particular issues, he gets shouted down and it's not even safe. DSA, we have a slide here. This is an old slide from DSA. Defund the police. This happens to be in California. This is before they became famous. They were talking about this. Now they say they want to eliminate prisons. They want to eliminate police officers. They're not on the fringe, folks, of the Democrat Party. I showed in previous shows and other things that their list of priorities are the same as the Democrat Party. They have different ways of getting there. And most importantly, they're on the fringe because the Democrats say they're a big tent. Well, that by definition means they're part of the same party.
Correct.
And by the way, that's where the action is. So if you would, for people like you, what does this say about where America is right now and how urgent your mission is?
Oh, it's incredibly important. It's incredibly urgent. You raised two issues. You raised the first issue when you're talking about violence in the Democratic Party. Let me very quickly say that this violence ideology has gotten to the point it's created mental illness. We have so many mentally ill on the left ideology. You say, boy, that's a strong statement. Well, let me tell you something. Tom, you and I can disagree. That's great. But for me to go after you on social media, to try to destroy you, to try to destroy your reputation, your earning ability, your family, to tell people, hey, here's his address, you got to go by and pay him a visit, that's mentally deranged. That's where the left has gotten to. They have gotten so far.
And if you stop right there, they do this to Supreme Court justices.
You got it. They do to everybody.
And they try to assassinate the president. So this isn't some academic discussion about whether we should have a tax cut at 30 or 20%. No, this is people's lives and institutions.
And here's the funny part about it. Let me add a little levity to this while we're talking on this particular subject. This is the same people that say, okay, let's do away with police because after all, that's violence. They carry guns. You don't carry guns. So what are we going to do about it? Oh, we're going to bring in psychologists. When Tom's pulling a gun out and trying to rob the store, can you hold just a minute, Tom? I got a psychologist coming, and he's going to tell you that that's really not what you want to do with your life, and you're going to be able to resolve this whole thing. You'll be able to go home and have a whole new path to follow after they get done shooting you. But it's just, we want to listen to anything they have to say when they have gotten that crazy. That is the first big issue with this. The second big thing that we're talking about is, again, it drives their agenda for power, for control. We talked about initially, why did they want to do away with the police, defund the police and guns? Why do they want the control? It's very simple, Tom. And we're going to talk about this because you mentioned it before I came on the air. Look at all the fraud, the embezzlement. I can go through the list of things that this administration is dealing with right now that are just corruption to the core. Do you think for a minute they want to cut off their financial gravy train? Of course not. Now it's been cut off because of the change in administration, not totally, because just because you change the president doesn't mean you change all the nefarious people that are around in different agencies, etc. Well, you certainly slow them down. But so they've been slowed down. So what do they want to do? We got the midterm elections. We got to change this back. We got to get back in power and controls. We can turn those spigots back full blast again and get our money back. So that way, because if we have the money and we have the power, we have it all. We'll tell you exactly what to do, when to do it, Tom. You won't have a gun anymore. You can't dispute it. You don't like it, you can go 6 feet under or find some other place to go. And quite frankly, America is the last bastion of freedom in the world. So if you find another place to go, Tom, if you please be so kind to let me know, I'd appreciate it because I'll be looking for a place as well. But if we don't win this fight, we're going to win this fight. There's no question about it.
Back to quoted Franklin earlier. Franklin said those who exchange freedom for security wind up with neither
Correct.
because you don't become secure. If they took away your personal freedoms at the same time, and this is what happens in history as they literally defund the police or normalize behavior. The other dynamic we didn't mention is this happens throughout all of history too. You get in the 70s, Will Durant wrote about the fact, have we gone too far in the direction of the criminal versus the rest of society? This is in the 70s. And of course, the pendulum swung for a bit.
Right.
But now, and for about 20 years, it has been swinging back dramatically, saying that it's okay to act out. And you see this in polls that say a percentage of the young who think political violence is okay. All of these things are troubling. And folks, a reason why you should support organizations like investusa.org, did I get that right?
You did. Thank you, Don.
Is because the very fact that this organization has to exist tells you about the mentality of politicians, right?
It's just what you just said. Here's the other ironic part of the hypocrisy. Violence is fine as long as, from their standpoint, as long as it's directed at you. Now, if something happens to one of them, oh my goodness, the earth has shattered, the sky has fallen. How did we possibly get into this position? Why would people think this way? And I look at them and I say, you fools. You're the ones that did it. Can you not see that?
No. Well, there's none so blind as those who refuse to see. Let's go into the other topic. Minnesota had a hacking of its computer infrastructure related to its water systems.
Right.
On this show, we've been covering that dynamic. People need to understand that the war that I don't know this. I have a good friend whose company provides security to about a third of the Fortune 500 companies. Thousands of hacking attempts a day, tens of thousands. And he tells me 40% of them come from Russia, North Korea, China, and of course, Iran. This is part of their warfare.
Correct.
They don't have the ability to line up armies and wouldn't try. This is just as good because destroying people, adversaries' economic capacity is a time-old way of winning a war.
Yes.
So this happened in Minnesota. If you could tell people what happened, and more importantly, why this matters on a national scale.
Well, we'll work our way backward. Why does it matter on a national scale? Because this is the tip of the iceberg. This is just starting, okay? It's not like, oh, we grabbed an electrical fence and got shocked and we're not going to do it again. Oh, no. This is just the beginning of the tip of the iceberg, and it's divided into twofold. I want to bring this up because most people do not. Yes, the countries that we mentioned, China, Iran, Russia, and we can go down the list, are determined to bring us down and to destroy us. They're providing funding. But where do you think a lot of the manpower is coming? They are putting together leftist organizations within this country. Now, in the old days, it was like, okay, if you are a member of the ACLU, whatever it might be, a leftist organization, that's it. Y'all stay to your lane. You decided what you're going to do to make this country bad, try to destroy it, and you kept yourselves. They've come up now with something new. They said, what? We've got a general ideology. If you hate America, we're all brothers. So let's all band together, whether it's cartel, whether it's human sex traffickers, whether it's leftist crazies, whatever it is, we're all going to band together and formulate a philosophy and an ideology that will bring this country down. You're seeing it with Mondani in New York. That's not a democratic socialist, progressive socialist. That's a communist. Let's call it for what it is. We don't have a Democratic Party anymore. We have a Communist Party. I don't believe we have a Republican Party anymore. We have a patriotic party that believes in the Constitution, that believes in what this country was founded on. That's where we're at. It's one or the other. You make your choice. But that having been said, this is what's driving. I go back into the situation in Minnesota. They are looking for any way they can to utilize their force, which is a lot of it now is inside our country. It's not like they're hiding behind some desk in Iran or in China. They're getting a lot of funding through those mechanisms. But they're actually recruiting and bringing people on. You know, get carried a step further. We talked about their hacking on infrastructure and how devastating that will be. The other thing they're going after is this summer, they've got a new pattern. It's called teen takeovers that are being occurring all across the country, where they're organizing these teens in social media to run over and occupy a place and not just kick over a trash can and say, I'm not going to pick it up. We're talking about becoming violent. They're encouraging young people to be involved with terrorist attacks, assassinations. All the intel is there that we've intercepted. And this is what they're doing. As you mentioned before, they have no interest in coming over in boats and invading, doing landings on American beaches. They're going to do it from within. Heck, they've already got how many hundreds and hundreds of thousands, probably millions. Actually, if you want to be truthful about it, Tom, it's millions, not hundreds of thousands, that are already here. That thanks to the Biden administration, thanks to Obama and those, they've already got a place, they've already got a position. By the way, you and I paid to position them. They got the free airline tickets and bus tickets and everything else. Just tell me where you want to go, and we're paying to continue to keep them positioned. We're paying for their lodging, their food, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to get me started on something else, or not, but how disgusting to have people who have fought for this country, shed blood for this country, who now have to sleep on the streets because they're not good enough to take assistance from our government. But if you want to come over here and help destroy this country, we'll roll out the red carpet for you.
I want to emphasize when people think of warfare, they think of standing armies, maybe missiles, and they also think of the outlines of a adversary. The where is China? Where is Iran? But in the computer age, that no longer is the issue. You can do exactly what you described. You're an Iranian leader. You give money to someone in the United States, and that person's sitting at a desk, and the American, I really need you to talk about this subject in the declining minutes here. We have aging infrastructure, well, whether it is our electrical grid, our water systems, none of this, I think I shouldn't say none. We do not have what it takes to protect those in the next 10 years. And just like a vest, politicians don't want to fund what is necessary at this point. What's your thoughts on that?
You're exactly right. You carry it a step further with everything you just mentioned, plus then some. What do you think is happening with our FAA? What do you think is happening with our air traffic control? So, folks, our infrastructure was the best in the world at the time it was built. That's 50, 60 years ago. You can't expect something to stay the best and to stay prime condition. And it has to be replaced. The same thing, we have to take care of our first responders. We have to set priorities. This is the problem with our public policy. Their priority is, how do I stay elected so I can continue to rob you blind? That's what we have to do, is we have to go ahead and call these people out. I've been very forceful about saying it's time. I believe it's gotten so bad, Tom. I believe we need to take a look at military tribunals, because I believe our judicial system has gotten so corrupt with activist judges as well. That's a whole nother topic to discuss. But let me tell you, folks, if we don't take this serious and do something very quickly, we will lose this war. But the important thing that I said earlier on your show, that we're going to win, we have that capability. There's no question we can turn this around, and we can make America great again for the next 250 years. Only if we unite together. Listen to what the issues are. They won't get them from mainstream media, Tom. Why would they? Mainstream media was getting paid by taxpayers to advocate the leftist agenda for decades.
They're also came out recently how much money they receive from adversaries when they go overseas, from Qatar and other places as well.
Exactly. So you can't count on them. So that's why I was so happy to be on your show, Tom. You're just about the only place you can count on that you're going to be able to get some real understanding of what's happening. America, the day of sitting back and saying, well, I'm just going to work 9 to 5 and the country will take care of itself, are over. If you want to continue to have something to pass along to your children, your grandchildren, you better get involved now. Volunteerism is the best way to do it, but you better get involved and save this country. Whether you run for office, whether you volunteer, whether you help your neighbor, whatever you have to do, it's time to get engaged in society. Counter all this leftist, deranged mental instability that the liberalism has proposed. Get a kick out of it. They dominate the social media. Will nobody respond to these idiots when they say something? Say, you need to go get your brain checked. It's time that we tell people we're not going to put up with their foolishness anymore. And it's time that we go on ahead and do what's right to protect our first responders, our children, our grandchildren, the American citizens to come.
No question about that. All right, let's go back almost to where we started. How can people help your organization in practical ways with what lies ahead?
Well, there's quite a few things. First of all, go to our website, which you said, mbsusa.org. You can make a donation to make sure these officers have the best. Why is that important? Government's not doing it. They need to know that we have their back. If we lose what's left of what we have, we cannot maintain safety. We will fall into anarchy, and America will fall. So let's let our guys and gals who are so brave know that we stand behind them. You can do it a second way as well. Appreciate the donation, but the most important thing I want you to do for me is tell one that when you see them next time, thank you for your service. Thank you for willing to be served. Morale has never been lower in first responders than it is today. You and I can change that. Third thing we need to do is from our young people. Mainstream media is telling you that you'd be crazy to be in public service, or you'd be crazy to be a first responder cop. We're going to change that. We've got a graphic novel. You can see it behind my shoulder. We're just producing called Bulletproof. My day, Tom, it was called a comic book. Okay, I'm a little outdated in terminology. It's a graphic novel now. It is for all of our young people. It shows first responders as the true heroes that they are, even with some special powers. You're going to have to see the graphic novel. We want every young person in America to have one, to get their position changed so that they can understand this is an honorable calling. And then, of course, the other thing that they can do is make sure, this is what I tell people, 2 other things real quickly. Nothing wrong with owning a firearm, nothing wrong with knowing how to use it. Make sure you've got one in your home. Make sure you take your kids out to the range. It's a great opportunity for a family outing, okay? Teach them how to use it. They'll have respect for it. They'll know what's going on. And the other thing I would tell you to do is every state police department, every city police department, every county sheriff has reserve programs for officers. Volunteer. Go on ahead and allow them to take a few hours a month, ride along, become commissioned, know how your law works. I guarantee you want to scare the liberals. You get everybody with a badge and a gun, that'll be the end of them. So make sure you do that. Then the final thing I would tell you to do is speak up. When you go to the water fountain at work and they say, "Did you yell?" They tell you a story, it's totally inaccurate, it's totally BS. Say something about it. Say, "Well, I was listening to the Tom show. That's not what they said there. Look here," and get engaged, and let's start fighting back. Silence has to end. That's what happened with the Germans when the Nazism raised, is they refused to say because they were scared. No need to be scared, folks. If you want to be scared, wait till we fall. Then you can be scared. Right now, we need courage to save America.
So one of my best friends in life, Bruce Lesser, has volunteered 33 years for a local police department, wears the uniform and does patrols and things like that. So I agree with you. One last thing I want to say, we saw over this last week a young 16-year-old save a life in the ocean, and it was sensationalized. I think, just my opinion, I think police officers should do more PR so that people can really see what they do in saving people's lives, so that the narrative that out there isn't the narrative the left wants, but being heroic. Being a police officer is not for everyone. It takes a lot. It takes unbelievable steely spine, and we need to tell their story more. Michael, thanks so much for coming on Politics in Perspective. We certainly enjoyed your perspective today.
Well, thank you, Tom. Let me throw one quick thing in there. We're going to answer what you just said. We have a TV series coming out called Bulletproof Run that will do exactly what you said. We're going to honor our first responders, what they really do, and let America see how valuable they are.
All right, great. We'll be right back with more Politics in Perspective.
Michael X, Invest USA.